The new armed forces standards announced by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. And by the way, it's not just rules that are changing. The Pentagon is also adopting a different tone in how it talks to the assembled brass. Here's some of what Hegseth had to say.
I don't want my son serving alongside troops who are out of shape, or in combat unit with females who can't meet the same combat arms physical standards as men. You kill people and break things for a living. You are not politically correct and don't necessarily belong always in polite society. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops.
So that camera wasn't snuck in. They wanted this to be televised. It was a very public address. That's all on purpose. Was it necessary to rally the troops? Was there another meeting here, a political meeting? To talk about that and more is exactly the right person, a former U.S. Navy captain, prior service, and current Democratic Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona. He joins us now. Senator Kelly, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. There's a lot we could talk about in that address. I want to talk about what President Trump said, though, off the top. You're on the Armed Services Committee, and you know when it comes to President Trump, it can be hard to determine whether when he says something it's real or just a riff. And there's one line in particular that people are quoting. I'll read it to you. We should use some of these dangerous cities as testing grounds for the military. I know you heard that. Are you going to clarify it? Have you clarified it? What did he mean?
Well, most of his speech, Tony, was, I think, rather incoherent. I was reviewing the transcript this morning, and it's hard to understand what he was talking about. But I think he was pretty clear on that point, that he wants to send troops and use them against American citizens. And I can't think of anything that's more un-American than that. Now, he had all those admirals and generals in that room. These folks are very professional. They're patriots. They understand the Constitution. So my hope is that at the appropriate time, somebody stands up and says, we're just not doing that. That's illegal.
Senator, you also heard the Secretary of Defense say that troops should, quote, troops should ignore, quote, stupid rules of engagement. Of course, rules of engagement dictate when force can be used. What do you make of that?
Well, it sounds like he's trying to push, young men and women over a line of legality. There are rules that the way we conduct ourselves in combat. I had to live by these rules in the early 1990s during the first Gulf War. When you speak like that, there's a lot of young people here that are rather impressionable. I mean, folks that are, 18, 19, 20 years old, pilots who are 25 years old, like I was when I was flying in combat. To have a Secretary of Defense say that, you wind up putting these folks in a position that they do something that they will later find out is against the law. We've seen this. I mean, it's still unclear to us. I'm going to have a brief on this morning. Whether the operations conducted off the coast of Venezuela were legal or not. We've never had a Secretary of Defense like this. This guy was unqualified 8 months ago, and he's still unqualified for this job today.
Senator, if you talk to Republicans about this, they'll say that the Secretary's address was frank and direct, but also necessary and useful because the Biden administration had brought culture wars into the Department of Defense, the War Department, as it's now called, and they shouldn't have. Do Republicans have any kind of point on that?
It is ridiculous. We have the most lethal fighting force that this planet has ever seen. There's no problem here. I mean, when you look at the combat operations that the U.S. military has conducted, from Midnight Hammer all the way back to the first Gulf War that I was in, we have a very capable force. What they're doing is trying to further divide people. That's where the president goes at every opportunity. And he's got the folks that work for him doing the same thing, and it's being done in the military.
Secretary, earlier we had the vice president on doing an interview with Tony, and we played a bite for our viewers where he talks about, the fact that let's take the health care debate outside of this shutdown, negotiate that separately, and work together with both sides. Why can't that happen?
Well, Adriana, we've been trying to negotiate this for weeks now, and the negotiation came down to the day before the shutdown, 1 hour in the White House with the President of the United States, who didn't even seem to understand the reports we got, where he did not understand the details of what this negotiation was all about. This basically comes down to the price that Americans have to pay for their health care. On November 1st, 20 million Americans are going to see their premiums double. In my state, premiums are going to go up by $475 a month. 109,000 people in the state of Arizona will potentially lose their health insurance. That's all this is about. And if you wait until the last day to do the negotiation and you don't understand these things, the president did not understand what this was about. Now, we could fix this today. This is pretty easy to do. All it takes is one vote. We want to bring down the cost of health care for Americans. It is going to be unaffordable for millions and millions of people in just 30 days. It's pretty simple. It's a simple thing to do. We should get this done today.
Senator Mark Kelly, thank you so much.